This is the Raw Wealth Playbook, a guide to uncensored prosperity and the hidden money principles nobody dares to speak aloud. In these teachings, you'll see why true abundance has no filters and responds only to the energy you embody. As you listen, you'll discover the timeless truth. Wealth is not earned, it is unleashed from within. The Raw Wealth Playbook. You didn't arrive here by accident. Certain pages find certain souls. If this book found you, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. I'm giving away a free physical copy of this book, packed with ancient wisdom and timeless insight. The details are in the pinned comment, so don't forget to check it out. Introduction. You stand at the threshold of a profound transformation. What you're about to discover isn't another set of money-making tactics or investment strategies. This is raw wealth consciousness, a fundamental rewiring of how you relate to abundance itself. Think of wealth like water. Most chase after puddles, desperately trying to collect and hold on to every drop. But what if you could become the river itself? This is the essence of raw wealth consciousness. It's not about having more, it's about being more. The 3 pillars will guide your journey: identity, clarity, and infrastructure. Identity asks who you must become to naturally attract abundance. Just as a rose doesn't strain to be beautiful, it simply grows into what it already is. Your wealth identity emerges from authentic alignment with your highest self. Clarity cuts through the noise of shoulds and supposed tos. It's about wanting what you truly want, without filters or apologies. When Jennifer, a struggling artist, finally admitted she wanted to build a multi-million-dollar business instead of following the starving artist narrative, her entire reality shifted. Within 18 months, her digital art platform was serving clients across 3 continents. Infrastructure makes the invisible visible. It's the daily practices and environmental designs that bridge your inner transformation to outer results. Think of it like a garden. You don't make plants grow, but you can create optimal conditions for growth. This book is your initiation. Each chapter builds upon the last, moving from foundational awakening through deepened practice to eventual mastery. You'll find practical parables that illuminate the path, followed by concrete teachings and experiments you can begin today. Your journey starts with one simple truth. Wealth isn't something you chase, it's something you become. Open your journal. Make space for daily practice. Be willing to question everything you've been taught about money, success, and what's possible for you. This is your laboratory, your field of practice, your path to embodied abundance. Part 1. Awakening to the Truth of Unfiltered Wealth. Chapter 1. The Silent Laws Behind All Riches. Harry Coleman wiped his weathered hands on a shop rag, gazing at the empty bays of his auto repair shop. For 15 years, he'd fought through slow seasons by plastering the neighborhood with flyers and discount offers. Each quiet month felt like a personal failure, pushing him to chase customers harder. One autumn morning, something shifted. Instead of rushing out with another desperate marketing campaign, Harry sat in his office and reflected on what had always brought him joy, the satisfaction of doing things right. He redirected his energy toward perfecting his craft and treating each car as if it belonged to family. Within weeks, word spread. Customers began sharing stories of his meticulous attention to detail. The empty bays filled, not with discount seekers, but with people willing to pay for quality. Harry had stumbled upon a fundamental law of wealth. Attention flows where intention goes. The mechanics of wealth consciousness operate like a well-tuned engine. Every assumption acts as a gear, every habitual thought as a belt, every belief as a valve. When these components align, abundance flows naturally. When they clash, we experience resistance. Martha Bell understood this transformation intimately. As a part-time nurse, she had always viewed her worth through the lens of her hourly rate. "I'm just a per diem nurse," she'd say, unknowingly programming her reality with limitation. One day, she challenged this assumption. What if my value isn't measured by hours? This simple shift rippled through her experience. Senior nurses began requesting her for complex cases. Patients' families offered generous gifts. Weekend shifts that once felt like burdens became opportunities for enhanced pay. Martha hadn't changed her skills, she had changed her relationship with value itself. These stories illuminate a crucial truth. Wealth responds not to pursuit, but to presence. Both Harry and Martha succeeded not by chasing money, but by aligning their inner stance with natural abundance. Practice the 24-hour attention audit. Today, observe your relationship with money through two lenses. First, notice 3 distinct moments when you find yourself chasing money, perhaps checking prices obsessively, worrying about bills, or devaluing your work. Then, identify 3 moments when you naturally invite abundance, maybe through expressing gratitude, delivering excellence without attachment, or recognizing opportunities without grasping. Before sleep, choose one limiting assumption about money that surfaced during your audit. Write it down, then craft its opposite as tomorrow's experiment. Let this new assumption guide your actions for one full day, noting any shifts in your experience of abundance. Chapter 2. The Myth of Hard Work and the Power of Alignment. Franklin Frank. Tate's phone buzzed constantly with delivery notifications as he pedaled through city streets in all weather conditions. 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, he chased the algorithm's promises of bonus payments and surge pricing. Despite the endless movement, his bank account remained stubbornly empty. Every month felt like starting over, trapped in a cycle of motion without progress. The turning point came when Frank noticed a pattern. Certain restaurants' orders consistently earned him better tips and ratings. These weren't necessarily the highest-paying deliveries, but they matched his natural strengths, his ability to maintain food quality over longer distances, and his knack for navigating complex apartment buildings efficiently. Instead of accepting every ping, Frank began focusing exclusively on these aligned opportunities. He cut his working hours by half but maintained nearly the same income. More importantly, he preserved his energy for strategic growth. He used his freed-up time to secure contracts with high-end catering companies that valued his reliability and professional demeanor. This principle of aligned action versus mere effort played out dramatically in Evelyn Shaw's consulting business. For years, she had spread herself thin across dozens of small clients, offering everything from basic bookkeeping to complex tax planning. Her calendar was full, but her energy was depleted, and her income had plateaued. Through careful analysis, Evelyn discovered that her highest value work centered on helping small businesses structure their finances for growth. She made the bold decision to drop 70% of her clients, focusing solely on this specialized service. Within 3 months, her income doubled while working just 4 days a week. The effort-alignment ratio reveals a fundamental truth. Time spent on misaligned activities, no matter how productive they seem, creates resistance that drains both energy and resources. Aligned action, in contrast, generates momentum that compounds over time. Practice the alignment shift experiment. Choose one task that consistently drains your energy without producing proportional results. This could be a type of client work, a marketing activity, or any business function that feels like pushing against the current. Write it down and commit to stopping it this week. Next, identify one aligned action that leverages your natural strengths and brings you energy. This should be something that historically has produced good results with relatively little strain. Dedicate the time you've freed up to this aligned activity. Track both the tangible results, money, opportunities, connections, and intangible feedback, energy levels, synchronicities, ease of execution over the next 7 days. Note how the quality of your experience shifts when you replace force with flow. Chapter 3. Money as a mirror of your inner frequency. Samuel Porter stared at his laptop screen, watching his bank balance fluctuate like a temperamental weather pattern. Some months brought floods of copywriting projects and comfortable income, while others left him in a financial drought. The pattern seemed random until he began noticing how closely his financial reality mirrored his internal state. During weeks when anxiety gripped him, clients became demanding and payments delayed. In contrast, periods of calm confidence attracted smooth projects and timely payments. The correlation was too consistent to ignore. Sam started paying attention to his breath patterns, posture, and the subtle language shifts in his client communications. He discovered that rushed, shallow breathing accompanied desperate prospecting emails that went unanswered. When he practiced deep, measured breaths before writing proposals, responses came quickly and positively. His shoulders, once perpetually hunched over his keyboard, learned to settle back in quiet assurance. His words, freed from urgent undertones, began to resonate with higher-paying clients. Across town, Ida Carmichael's restaurant told a similar story. Despite excellent food and service, reservations remained unpredictable. Ida noticed her staff's energy shifted dramatically based on her morning mood. On days when financial worry creased her brow, tables sat empty. But when she consciously cultivated warmth and abundance in her demeanor, the restaurant hummed with satisfied customers. Ida implemented a morning ritual of standing in her restaurant's doorway, breathing deeply, and visualizing a successful evening ahead. She adjusted the lighting, music, and even the way staff greeted guests to match this elevated frequency. Within weeks, booking patterns stabilized, and positive reviews mentioned the wonderful atmosphere more than the food itself. The core teachings reveal that vibrational congruence, the alignment between internal frequency and external circumstances, operates like a tuning fork. Each thought, word, and gesture emits a frequency that attracts corresponding experiences. The key lies not in forcing change, but in maintaining consistent energetic states that naturally draw desired outcomes. Observable cues signal frequency shifts. Relaxed breathing, measured speech, aligned posture, and steady eye contact indicate high vibration states. Rushed movements, tense shoulders, and fragmented attention mark lower frequencies that repel prosperity. Practice the frequency mapping exercise. Throughout today, document 3 distinct emotional states you experience. Note the specific circumstances, physical sensations, and external events that coincide with each state. Pay special attention to any financial or professional situations that arise during these periods. Tomorrow, commit to 2 5-minute tonal reset sessions. Stand tall, breathe deeply, and consciously shift your internal state to one of calm abundance. Observe how this intentional frequency modulation affects your interactions and opportunities throughout the day. Chapter 4. The Forbidden Truth About Desire. Louis Bramwell sat in his office, staring at yet another promotion announcement that didn't bear his name. For 15 years, he'd worked diligently at Meridian Solutions, watching colleagues ascend while he remained fixed in middle management. His parents' voices echoed in his mind. Don't get too big for your boots, and be grateful for what you have. These inherited beliefs had turned ambition into a source of shame. Each time opportunity knocked, Louis found himself making self-deprecating jokes in meetings or deliberately underselling his achievements. He'd mastered the art of invisible excellence, doing outstanding work while ensuring no one noticed. The core teachings illuminate how desire serves as the universe's directive intelligence. Like a compass pointing true north, authentic wanting reveals the path to your highest expression. This isn't greed. It's the life force seeking expansion through you. When you silence desire, you interrupt the natural flow of abundance. The key lies in distinguishing between clean signal and grasping. Clean signal feels clear, energizing, and aligned with your values. Grasping carries an undertone of desperation or unworthiness. The former pulls opportunities toward you, the latter pushes them away. Maggie Fowler understood this distinction. As a single mother working 2 jobs, she'd always minimized her dreams, believing wanting more would make her a bad parent. During a quiet moment, she allowed herself to voice her deepest desire, to open a wellness center serving other busy parents. The clarity of this vision felt different from her usual wishful thinking. Within weeks of speaking this desire aloud, Maggie met a successful entrepreneur at her local coffee shop. Their conversation revealed shared values about family and community. This chance encounter led to a mentorship that transformed her dream into a concrete business plan. The moral weight we attach to desire often stems from confusing want with greed. Ethical wanting honors both personal growth and collective benefit. It recognizes that your expansion creates ripples of opportunity for others. Practice the clear desire declaration. Choose one authentic desire that energizes you. Speak it aloud with precise detail and a specific time frame. For example, by December 1st, I will secure a position that uses my leadership skills and pays $85,000 annually. Don't justify or explain. Simply state what you want and by when. Notice the first subtle shift that occurs after your declaration, whether in your energy, circumstances, or opportunities. Chapter 5. The Energetic Roots of Scarcity Thinking. George Larkin stood in his kitchen staring at a perfectly good carton of milk that was still 3 days from its expiration date. Yet there he was, pouring it down the drain because it was on sale for 50 cents less at the market today. His hands trembled as he watched 37 cents of old milk disappear, knowing his behavior was irrational but unable to stop himself. At 62, George had amassed over $2 million in savings, yet lived as though bankruptcy lurked around every corner. His childhood memories were filled with his mother's voice. "We're not the kind of people who..." followed by endless restrictions. Money was never discussed directly, only through whispers, sighs, and tense shoulders at the grocery store. The core teachings reveal how these inherited patterns become encoded in our nervous system. Scarcity isn't just about numbers. It's transmitted through tone of voice, facial expressions, and the unuttered rules that govern family systems. These patterns replicate themselves across generations until someone consciously breaks the chain. The 3-step excavation method begins with identification, noting every money-related phrase you heard growing up. Next comes pattern mapping, tracking how those words manifest in your current behaviors. Finally, conscious neutralization, creating new responses that align with abundance rather than lack. Rosa Bennett discovered this truth while sorting through her mother's belongings after her passing. Among the carefully wrapped teacups and hoarded rubber bands, she found dozens of uncashed checks and unopened bank statements. That evening, Rosa realized she'd been unconsciously recreating her mother's financial avoidance in her own life. Through deliberate practice, Rosa began speaking openly about money with her children. She replaced, "We can't afford that," with, "Let's explore how to make that possible." When her daughter showed interest in starting a small business, Rosa helped her open a youth investment account, breaking the family pattern of treating money as a taboo subject. Practice family money mapping. Take 10 minutes to draw your family's money tree. Start with the phrases you heard growing up, then trace how they echo in your current behaviors. Choose the most limiting belief and create a release statement. Name, release the belief that specific pattern. I choose to new response instead. Speak it aloud 3 times while holding an object that represents the old pattern. Then physically move to a different spot in the room to embody stepping into a new relationship with wealth. Chapter 6. The Ancient Contract You Hold with Wealth. Albert Reeves sat at his kitchen table, methodically sorting his mail into precise stacks, just as he had done for 37 years at the post office. His pension provided exactly enough, no more, no less. When his neighbors suggested investing in a promising local business venture, Albert immediately declined. "I've got what I need," he said, the words flowing automatically from some deep, unexamined place. The core teachings illuminate how such unconscious contracts form through repeated thoughts and decisions. Like software running in the background, these agreements with ourselves determine what we allow in our lives. Albert's contract with enough had become a ceiling rather than a foundation. The process of renegotiation begins with awareness. By observing our automatic responses to money opportunities, we can identify these hidden clauses. The next step involves conscious rewriting through ritual. This isn't mere affirmation. It's a formal process of dissolving old agreements and establishing new ones with clear terms. Clara Hayes demonstrated this principle when she realized her reflexive response to unexpected income was to immediately give it away. Working as a middle school teacher, she had unconsciously contracted with scarcity, believing she didn't deserve more than basic survival. Through the ritual of contract rewriting, she composed a new agreement. "I welcome abundance in all forms and trust my ability to steward it wisely." Each morning, Clara stood before her mirror and read her new contract aloud. Within weeks, she received an offer to create and sell her curriculum materials online. Instead of deflecting the opportunity, she accepted it as alignment with her new agreement. Her income doubled within 6 months, yet the real transformation was in her natural response to opportunity, from reflexive rejection to considered acceptance. The secret lies in the power of conscious contracts to override unconscious programming. By explicitly stating our terms with wealth, we create new neural pathways that bypass old restrictions. Practice your wealth covenant. Set aside 30 minutes of uninterrupted time. On a fresh page, write a one-paragraph covenant that defines your new relationship with wealth. Begin with, "I hereby establish," and include specific terms about how you choose to receive, grow, and share abundance. Read this covenant aloud each morning for 7 days, standing in the same spot. Record any shifts in opportunities, responses, or internal dialogue in a dedicated journal. Your covenant becomes active through consistent declaration and conscious choice. Chapter 7. How Fear Blocks the Gate of Prosperity. Jonah Reeves stood outside his client's front door, hand frozen mid-knock. The estimate in his pocket felt like lead. For 15 years he'd charged the same rate while parts and living costs climbed steadily upward. His skill had deepened, his reputation had grown, yet the thought of raising his prices made his stomach clench. What if his regulars, people who had become like family, turned away? The core teachings reveal how fear creates neural feedback loops that trap us in patterns of undercharging and overgiving. These loops trigger physical responses, shallow breathing, muscle tension, scattered thoughts that reinforce the perceived threat. But fear's power diminishes through strategic exposure and somatic awareness. The key lies in breaking down threatening actions into manageable steps while maintaining physical groundedness. Each small victory rewires the nervous system, building new pathways of courage and capability. Practicing deep belly breathing, feeling your feet on the ground, and consciously relaxing tension points creates a stable foundation for stretching comfort zones. Ruth Hale demonstrated this transformation in her consulting practice. She initially charged bottom market rates, fearing clients would reject higher fees. Through gradual exposure, first practicing saying new rates alone, then to friends, finally to prospects, she built confidence. She learned to frame increases as investments in sustainable service, speaking from a place of grounded certainty rather than apologetic fear. "I value our relationship," she would say, "and want to continue providing excellent service. My new rate reflects the expertise I bring." To her surprise, most clients appreciated her professional approach. Those who left did so respectfully, and new clients arrived who valued her work appropriately. The path from fear to confidence follows predictable steps. By identifying specific money fears and breaking them into small, manageable exposures, you create a reliable ladder of growth. Each rung builds upon the last, supported by physical grounding practices that keep you centered. Practice Fear Exposure Ladder. Choose one specific money fear you're ready to address. Write it down clearly. Schedule a 5-minute exposure exercise, perhaps speaking your desired rate aloud in front of a mirror, checking an investment balance you've been avoiding, or writing an email about a rate increase without sending it yet. Before the exercise, take 3 deep breaths and feel your feet firmly planted. During the exposure, notice physical sensations without judgment. Immediately afterward, journal what you felt and any insights that arose. This creates a record of your growing courage and capacity for receiving. Chapter 8. The Truth Behind Luck, Fate, and Money Miracles. Artie Benson wiped down the espresso machine, his movements precise and purposeful. A week earlier, he had done something unusual, organized his resume, cleaned his workspace, and written down exactly what he wanted: a management position at a high-end coffee shop. He called it his lucky kit. Within days, a renowned coffee chain owner walked in, struck up a conversation, and offered him a position running their new flagship location. The core teachings reveal that miracles follow predictable patterns. What appears as chance is actually the confluence of 3 elements: readiness, clarity, and the removal of resistance. Like a ship preparing for favorable winds, those who experience lucky breaks have often unconsciously aligned these elements. Readiness means having your house in order, both literally and figuratively. It's about creating space for opportunity through organization, preparation, and maintained awareness. Clarity involves precise articulation of what you seek, stripped of ambiguity or hesitation. Elimination of resistance requires releasing the mental and emotional blocks that would normally cause you to miss or deflect opportunity. Doris Lane's story illustrates these principles in action. A freelance graphic designer, she spent one weekend organizing her portfolio, clearing her email inbox, and writing a 1-page summary of her ideal partnership opportunity. The following Tuesday, a major agency contacted her about a partner position. They had received her name months earlier, but only reached out once they saw her updated portfolio. "I felt like it came out of nowhere," Doris said. "But looking back, I had laid the groundwork. Everything was ready. I just hadn't realized how important that preparation would be." These miracle conditions can be systematically cultivated. The key lies in maintaining a state of readiness while holding clear intention. Think of it as creating a landing pad for opportunity, kept clean, well lit, and always prepared for arrival. Practice the opportunity pack. Create your own opportunity pack and maintain it for 2 weeks. This includes: keep this pack current and ready. Notice how this state of preparation affects your awareness of opportunities and your readiness to seize them when they appear. Document any coincidences or unexpected openings that arise during this period of heightened readiness. Chapter 9. Breaking the Curse of Humble Poverty. Milton Grant stood at the back of the church hall, hesitating before the donation box. For 20 years he'd given his time freely as a youth mentor, but when asked to lead a paid after-school program, he declined. It wouldn't be right to profit from helping others, he told the board. Yet his choice meant the program remained small, serving only a fraction of the children who needed it. The core teachings reveal a crucial distinction between true humility and self-diminishment. Humility honors your gifts while recognizing their source. Self-denial buries those gifts and limits their impact. When we equate material success with moral failing, we create an artificial barrier between prosperity and purpose. True service expands with resources. Money acts as water for seeds of change. Properly channeled, it nourishes growth and multiplies impact. The belief that wealth corrupts service is itself a form of poverty consciousness, one that keeps vital work small and contained. Hazel Monroe discovered this truth while running a food bank. Initially, she refused to accept payment for her organizational expertise, pride masquerading as virtue. But when she began charging consulting fees to other nonprofits, something shifted. The income allowed her to hire staff, upgrade systems, and serve triple the families. I realized my discomfort with earning was actually limiting how many people we could help, she reflected. Prosperity became a tool for greater service. This integration of wealth and purpose transforms money from a source of guilt into a sacred instrument. When viewed through the lens of stewardship, prosperity becomes not just permissible but necessary for maximum impact. Each dollar earned carries the potential for expanded service. The path forward requires releasing old narratives about money and morality. We must recognize that impact often requires resources, and that earning in alignment with purpose amplifies our ability to serve. True stewardship means taking responsibility for both the generation and conscious direction of wealth. The practice, your stewardship pledge. Write a one-paragraph stewardship pledge describing specifically how you will use increased wealth to serve others. Include concrete details about the impact you intend to create. Carry this pledge with you for the next 30 days, reading it each morning. Let it remind you that prosperity aligned with purpose becomes a powerful force for good. Watch how this shift in perspective affects both your relationship with money and your capacity for service. Chapter 10. The moment you finally meet your wealth identity. Thaddeus Thad. Monroe stood in front of the department store mirror, fingering the sleeve of a well-made wool coat. For years, he'd grabbed whatever was cheapest at the thrift store, telling himself it didn't matter. But something shifted that day. Without overthinking, he purchased the coat, his first full-price clothing item in a decade. That single act rippled through his next week. He noticed himself standing straighter in meetings. His voice carried more authority. When a client asked for a discount on his carpentry work, he calmly held his rate. By month's end, he'd booked 3 high-end renovation projects. The core teachings reveal how identity shapes reality from the inside out. Small, consistent acts of dignity, choosing quality, maintaining standards, speaking with certainty, create neural pathways that bypass the need for external permission. Wealth consciousness begins not with the balance sheet, but with the quiet choices that tell your nervous system who you are becoming. This identity engineering operates through 3 channels: physical actions, language patterns, and environmental design. Each micro-decision either reinforces or revises your wealth identity. The way you sign your name, arrange your workspace, or respond to a dinner bill sends signals to your unconscious mind about your relationship with prosperity. Winifred Cole demonstrated this principle while transitioning her bookkeeping practice. She began setting her desk each morning as though preparing for CEO-level clients. Fresh flowers, proper lighting, organized files. She practiced stating her new rates in the mirror until they felt natural. Within 2 months, 3 corporate clients approached her, offering exactly the type of work she'd been rehearsing to receive. Identity reconstruction requires consistent practice rather than sporadic effort. Each small act of alignment creates compound effects. The key lies in selecting specific behaviors that feel both stretching and authentic, choices that pull you forward while remaining within your zone of believability. The 7-day identity immersion framework provides a structured way to engineer these shifts. Each day builds on the previous one, creating new neural pathways through deliberate action rather than affirmations alone. The practice: Wealth Identity Micro-Ritual. For the next 7 days, perform this 4-part ritual. Dress intentionally each morning as though already operating at your next level of success. Choose 3 wealth-conscious phrases to use throughout the day. Make one decision that reflects your emerging prosperity mindset, however small. Before bed, write a single sentence describing a moment you inhabited your wealth identity. Let each day's practice build upon the previous one, creating momentum through consistent micro-shifts rather than dramatic gestures. Track the subtle changes in how you carry yourself and how others respond. Remember, identity precedes evidence. You must become the person who naturally attracts prosperity before the external circumstances align. Part 2. Deepening into wealth frequency and practice. Chapter 11. The Energetic Blueprint of High Earners. Vernon Hale's creative agency thrived not through sporadic brilliance, but through the quiet power of consistent infrastructure. While other agencies chased trends and pulled all-nighters, Vernon built success through deliberate rhythms. Each Monday began with team alignment. Tuesdays focused on client delivery. Wednesdays were reserved for deep creative work. His calendar wasn't just organized, it was architected for wealth generation. The core teachings reveal how sustainable prosperity flows from structured patterns rather than random inspiration. Like a master builder, wealth consciousness requires foundational elements: clear boundaries, predictable rhythms, and gratitude practices that reinforce abundance. These elements form an inner architecture that naturally attracts and sustains financial flow. 3 key patterns emerge among consistent high earners. First, they maintain inviolable creation time, periods where energy flows toward value generation rather than reactive tasks. Second, they establish precise boundaries around their availability, pricing, and delivery terms. Third, they build in regular practices of appreciation and completion, acknowledging value received before pursuing more. Lucille Park demonstrated this transformation in her consulting practice. After years of chaotic scheduling and irregular income, she implemented a structured weekly rhythm. Monday mornings became sacred planning time. Client calls clustered on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wednesdays were reserved for deep work and innovation. Fridays included dedicated time for appreciation and review. Within 3 months, her client retention doubled. More importantly, her energy remained steady rather than cycling through exhaustion and recovery. Her income stabilized as clients respected her boundaries and valued her organized approach. The pattern reveals itself. Wealth consciousness isn't about working more hours, but about architecting time and energy for maximum impact. Each element of the structure serves a purpose, like load-bearing walls in a well-designed building. The interpretation provides a clear blueprint. Begin with fixed planning times that anchor your week. Create focused blocks for value delivery. Protect your creative energy through clear boundaries. Build in regular completion practices that acknowledge progress and maintain momentum. The practice. For the next 2 weeks, implement this basic wealth architecture. Morning Power Hour. Start each day with 60 minutes of focused planning and value creation before opening email. Client boundaries. Set specific days and times for meetings and delivery, communicating these clearly. Deep work blocks. Schedule 3 2-hour periods weekly for uninterrupted creative or strategic work. Gratitude close. End each workday by noting 3 completions and 3 instances of value received. Document how this structure affects your energy, client responses, and financial flow. Notice how stable patterns create space for prosperity to build naturally, like a well-constructed foundation supporting ever greater possibilities. Chapter 12. The Power of Unfiltered Intention. Raymond Cole sat at his desk, staring at his vision board filled with vague aspirations. More clients, better income, success. After months of visualization without results, he realized his intentions lacked the precision needed to manifest real change. His breakthrough came when he replaced these nebulous desires with specific, time-bound goals. The core teachings illuminate how the universe responds to crystal-clear signals. Like a radio receiver, prosperity consciousness requires exact frequency tuning. Vague intentions create static. Precise ones generate clear transmission. The key lies in crafting unfiltered intentions stripped of moral judgment, complete with sensory details and definite timelines. Each morning, Raymond began spending 5 minutes in focused imagination. Rather than merely hoping for more work, he declared, "By March 15th, I will sign 3 new corporate clients at $5,000 per project." Feeling the satisfaction of sending those contracts and hearing the notification of deposits received. He included the smell of fresh coffee during client meetings, the texture of signing contracts, the sound of payment confirmations. The core teachings emphasize that precision isn't about limitation. It's about signal strength. When you declare exactly what you want, when you want it, and how it will feel, you activate specific neural pathways that recognize and attract matching opportunities. Ida Ramsey's experience validates this approach. After years of hoping to grow her business, she wrote a precise intention. By December 1st, I will secure a $25,000 consulting contract with a sustainability-focused tech company, experiencing the excitement of presenting my proposal and the confidence of negotiating terms. Within 3 weeks, a perfect match client approached her through a LinkedIn connection. The interpretation reveals the anatomy of effective intention setting. Specific amount plus clear timeline plus detailed sensory experience. Remove words like hopefully or should. Strip away guilt about asking for exactly what you want. Practice feeling the reality of your intention achieved. The practice provides the framework for this precision manifestation. Write 1 unfiltered financial intention, including an exact amount and deadline. Add 3 sensory details, what you'll see, hear, or feel when it manifests. Spend 5 minutes each night for 7 nights rehearsing this scene in vivid detail, allowing yourself to fully experience the achievement as if it's already happened. Record any aligned opportunities that appear during this week of focused intention. Through this practice, you learn that clarity breeds certainty, and certainty attracts results. Your job isn't to judge the intention or worry about the how. It's to maintain crystal-clear signal strength through consistent, precise visualization. Chapter 13. Emotional Alchemy. Norman Pierce sat at his kitchen table every morning watching his bank balance, feeling that familiar knot of anxiety twist in his stomach. Each dip in cash flow triggered waves of doubt that paralyzed his decision-making. But one morning, something shifted. Instead of drowning in the anxiety, he asked himself, what if this feeling could become fuel? The core teachings reveal that emotional energy, even difficult emotions like doubt, can be transformed into magnetic power through a precise alchemical process. First, name the exact nature of the doubt without judgment. Second, fully feel the sensation in your body without resistance. Third, transmute the energy through conscious breathing and movement. Fourth, reframe the doubt into strategic questions. Finally, anchor the new state through deliberate action. Norman began applying this process to his weekly financial reviews. Rather than spiral into worry about pending invoices, he named his doubt specifically, I'm afraid clients won't pay on time. He allowed himself to feel the tightness in his chest fully. Through deep breathing, he moved the energy up from his stomach to his head, where it transformed into questions. What systems could make payment more reliable? What conversations haven't I had? Dorothy Lane discovered this same alchemy when launching her consulting practice. Each time doubt arose about her rates, she followed the 5 steps meticulously. She named the fear of being too expensive, felt the constriction in her throat, breathed through it until the energy shifted, then reframed it. How can I demonstrate value so clearly that price becomes secondary? Within months, her close rate doubled. The interpretation shows how this emotional alchemy creates a profound shift in your wealth frequency. Each transformed doubt becomes a building block of confidence. Each reframed question opens new pathways for money to flow. The practice guides you through your own emotional alchemy. Choose one recurring money doubt. For 7 consecutive days, spend 5 minutes moving through the 5 steps. Name. State your doubt clearly in 1 sentence. Feel. Locate the doubt's physical sensation in your body. Transmute. Breathe deeply into that location until the energy begins to move. Reframe. Turn the doubt into 3 specific questions, beginning with, how might I? Anchor. Take 1 small action based on your questions. Track how your relationship with this doubt changes through consistent practice. Notice how curiosity begins to replace anxiety and how this shift affects your financial decisions and results. Chapter 14. The Wealth Portal, Hidden in Daily Rituals. Chester Mills arrived at his bakery at 4 a.m. each morning, not because he had to, but because he discovered the power of consecrated time. In the pre-dawn quiet, he moved through his preparation ritual with deliberate awareness, lighting the ovens, measuring ingredients, and setting his intentions for the day ahead. What began as routine transformed into a magnetic force when he infused each action with conscious purpose. Before turning on the lights, Chester would stand in silence, palms resting on his wooden workbench. "This space is sacred," he would whisper, "and through it, abundance flows freely." Within months of establishing this practice, wholesale accounts began approaching him, drawn to what they called the special energy of his bakery. The core teachings revealed that everyday actions become powerful wealth attractors when elevated through 3 elements: sacred intention, precise timing, and devoted repetition. A simple morning coffee becomes an abundance meditation when you declare it so and maintain unwavering consistency. The key lies not in the complexity of the ritual, but in the depth of presence brought to it. Eloise Grant discovered this truth when she transformed her evening commute into a client calling ceremony. Each day at 5:30 p.m., she would park her car in the same spot, close her eyes, and visualize her ideal clients finding their way to her practice. She maintained this ritual without fail, regardless of weather or mood. Within 3 months, her practice had a waiting list. The interpretation offers clear parameters for creating your own wealth rituals. Choose an existing daily activity that occurs at a consistent time. Declare its sacred purpose aloud. Maintain absolute consistency for a minimum of 14 days. Record synchronicities and shifts that follow. The practice guides you through ritual creation. Select one daily habit you already perform reliably. For 14 consecutive days, elevate it to sacred status through declared intention. Whether it's making your bed, brewing tea, or walking to your desk, approach it as a wealth portal. Journal briefly after each ritual, noting subtle changes in your energy and external responses. This is not about adding new tasks to your day. It's about transforming what you already do into channels for abundance. Through conscious consecration, the mundane becomes miraculous, and wealth finds natural pathways into your life. Chapter 15. The Shadow Side of Money and How to Transcend It. Percy Lyle sat in his study, surrounded by donation receipts he'd never filed. As treasurer for the local food bank, he meticulously tracked every penny but kept the records hidden, masking his own childhood poverty behind a veneer of control. The shame of his past manifested as an obsessive need to hoard information, creating invisible barriers between himself and the community he served. The core teachings reveal that our deepest money wounds often disguise themselves as virtues. What appears as careful accounting may be fear in disguise. What looks like modesty might be shame avoiding the light. These shadow aspects of our relationship with wealth demand neither elimination nor denial. They require integration through conscious action. 3 key practices emerge for transmuting financial shadows into strength. Public accountability transforms secrecy into shared wisdom. When we speak our truth about money, we release its power over us. Confession to action converts shame into service by taking one concrete step toward transparency. Reframing allows us to see how our wounds have actually prepared us to serve others with similar struggles. Eunice Porter discovered this truth when facing her own financial shadow. After inheriting a modest sum, she felt unworthy of the money and considered donating it anonymously. Instead, she chose radical transparency. At a community meeting, she openly shared her intention to fund after-school programs, acknowledging both her initial discomfort and her commitment to being a visible steward of resources. Her vulnerability created a ripple effect. Others began sharing their own stories of financial healing. The after-school program flourished not just from her monetary contribution, but from the trust her transparency inspired. Additional donors came forward, matching her initial gift threefold. The interpretation provides a safety-first protocol for shadow work. Start small. Choose one aspect of your money story that feels manageable to address. Create conditions of support before taking action. Monitor your energy and adjust as needed. The practice guides you through shadow integration. Identify one money shadow that's ready to be transformed, perhaps a tendency to hide financial success or shame around past struggles. Design one simple public action that gently challenges this pattern, such as sharing a financial goal with a trusted friend or acknowledging a money lesson in a small group. Record both internal and external shifts that occur within 72 hours of taking this action. This work of integration requires neither dramatic confession nor complete transformation. Small conscious steps toward transparency create sustainable change. Your shadows, when brought carefully into the light, become the very foundation of your financial wisdom. Chapter 16. Why the Universe Rewards Bold Requests. Leonard Fisk had spent 3 years developing software for a promising startup, pouring his heart into code that helped the company grow. Each morning, he arrived early to fine-tune systems, staying late to mentor junior developers. Yet he remained just another salaried employee, watching others receive equity, while he hesitated to voice his desire for ownership. One evening, after completing a critical project that doubled user engagement, Leonard felt a shift in his energy. Instead of his usual pattern of hoping someone would notice his contribution, he scheduled a meeting with the founders. With calm certainty, he presented his track record and expressed his desire for equity ownership. To his amazement, they agreed within minutes, having apparently been waiting for him to step forward. The core teachings illuminate how calibrated boldness operates in the field of wealth. True asking comes from a place of aligned certainty, not desperation or entitlement, but clear knowing of value combined with respect for timing. This boldness must be calibrated. Too timid, and the field cannot respond. Too aggressive, and resistance builds. The art lies in matching your ask to your genuine energy while creating space for a yes. 3 elements make an ask powerful: aligned certainty, knowing your request matches your value; clear boundaries, stating specific terms while remaining flexible; and committed follow-through, taking immediate action on yes or no. Marjorie Cole demonstrated this principle when she approached a senior executive at an industry conference. Rather than making a general request for mentorship, she specifically asked for an introduction to a key player in sustainable energy, her passion field. Her clarity, combined with obvious preparation and genuine enthusiasm, led to not just an introduction, but an ongoing relationship that launched her renewable energy consultancy. The interpretation provides a template for crafted asking, based on specific value contribution, I am requesting clear outcome by timeline. This would create mutual benefit. I'm prepared to follow through action to ensure success. How does this align with your vision? The practice invites real-world application. Make one bold, aligned request this week using the provided template and journal the outcome. Choose something that stretches your comfort zone while remaining within your zone of authentic value. Document both the immediate response and any unexpected ripples that follow. Chapter 17. The Art of Uncompromising Self-Worth. Floyd Mercer ran his consulting business from a modest home office, his rates stuck at the same level they'd been 3 years ago. Each time he prepared to send a proposal, his fingers would hover over the keyboard as he second-guessed his worth. I should probably include a discount, he'd mutter, already anticipating objections that hadn't been voiced. The turning point came during a client meeting when he caught himself starting to apologize for his standard rate. Mid-sentence, he paused, took a breath, and simply stated the number clearly. The client nodded and moved on to discussing project details. That moment revealed how his own apologetic energy had been undermining his value all along. The core teachings illuminate how worth operates as a negotiated frequency between provider and receiver. When you transmit uncertainty, the field mirrors that wobble back as hesitation or resistance. Value isn't fixed. It's a dynamic conversation happening primarily through energy rather than words. The teachings provide 3 key practices for stabilizing worth. The value anchor ritual, a morning practice of stating prices aloud until they feel neutral. The offer reframe, shifting from cost-based to transformation-based language. And the calm hold, maintaining steady presence during price discussions. Hattie Nolan, a business strategist, applied these principles when she doubled her consulting fees. Instead of justifying the increase, she simply updated her materials and communicated the new structure with quiet confidence. Rather than losing clients, she attracted organizations who respected her expertise more deeply. Her calendar filled with higher quality projects, and former clients who initially stepped back began returning at the new rates, noting the enhanced results they observed in her current clients. The interpretation provides a practical script for price discussions. My rate for this work is amount. This investment reflects the specific transformation result we'll create together. Based on your goals, I believe this is well aligned with the value you'll receive. Would you like to discuss the specifics of how we'll achieve this? The practice invites immediate application. Choose one price or financial boundary that needs updating. Revise it to reflect true value. Then schedule a live conversation this week to enact the change. Document both your internal state and the external response. Chapter 18. The Magnetic Power of Overflow Thinking. Clyde Warner stood behind the counter of his small bookshop, methodically placing an extra bookmark in each purchase. It seemed counterintuitive at first, giving away items that could be sold. But he noticed something remarkable. Customers began returning, often buying multiple books instead of one. The simple act of including that unexpected extra created a ripple of goodwill that transformed his business. The core teachings reveal how generosity operates as a strategic posture rather than mere charity. When we position ourselves in overflow, maintaining reserves beyond immediate needs, we activate a powerful economic principle. Circulation creates expansion. The teachings outline three key elements: preparing surplus, building reserves before they're needed, seeding others, strategic giving that creates future growth, and maintaining circulation, keeping resources moving rather than stagnant. This isn't about reckless giving, but rather intelligent generosity that resets deeply ingrained scarcity patterns. By maintaining a surplus mindset, we shift from defensive hoarding to confident circulation. The field responds to this shift, opening new channels of opportunity. Georgia Brooks, a freelance web designer, discovered this principle through small experiments. She began offering complimentary strategy sessions to past clients, spending an extra 30 minutes beyond project scope to ensure their success. Within months, her referral rate tripled. Those brief investments of time returned multiplied, bringing higher quality clients who already understood her value. "The numbers don't lie," Georgia noted in her business journal. "Every hour I invest in strategic giving returns threefold in new business. It's not just goodwill, it's practical business mechanics." The interpretation provides clear steps to cultivate habitual overflow. First, identify areas where you can create small surpluses, time buffers between meetings, extra inventory, or reserved energy. Next, look for strategic giving opportunities that align with your expertise and resources. Finally, maintain consistent circulation by establishing regular giving practices, however modest. The key lies in sustainability, giving from overflow rather than depletion. This builds a foundation for long-term abundance rather than short-term depletion. When practiced systematically, strategic generosity becomes a powerful business accelerator. The practice invites immediate action. Choose one area where you can create deliberate surplus this week, whether through time, money, or service. Document the initial action and track ripple effects for 2 weeks. Note both tangible results, referrals, opportunities, income, and intangible shifts, energy, relationships, momentum. Chapter 19. How the Universe Responds to Fast Decisions. Edmund Clark sat at his desk staring at another unsigned contract. For 3 years, he'd watched lucrative opportunities slip away while he analyzed every angle. The pattern was clear: research, hesitate, lose the deal. But everything changed when a mentor challenged him to make decisions within 24 hours. "The first deal I forced myself to decide on quickly was terrifying," Edmund recalled. "But the client's relief at my decisive response was immediate. They signed that afternoon." The core teachings reveal how decision velocity directly impacts wealth creation. Quick aligned choices generate momentum that attracts more opportunities. This isn't about reckless speed, but rather calibrated responsiveness that maintains forward motion while managing risk through micro-tests. These teachings outline a critical distinction. Speed amplifies alignment, while delay often masks fear. When we make swift decisions from a centered place, we tap into natural market rhythms. The key lies in quick micro-tests rather than extended analysis. Small actions that validate direction without requiring major commitment. Pauline Rivers demonstrated this principle perfectly. As a residential real estate agent, she had watched colleagues lose listings through prolonged deliberation. She implemented a new approach. When presented with a potential listing, she would decide within hours whether to take it, then immediately begin preliminary marketing if the answer was yes. "My business doubled in 3 months," Pauline noted. Quick decisions meant quick actions, which sellers noticed and appreciated. They wanted someone who could move at market speed. The interpretation provides a practical 24-hour decision rule. When faced with a financial choice, set a 24-hour timer. Use the first 22 hours for quick information gathering and gut checks. The final 2 hours are for making and communicating your decision. This structure prevents both impulsive choices and analysis paralysis. For decisions above your comfort threshold, use micro-tests. What's the smallest version of this choice you could test immediately? Can you trial a service before full commitment? Can you start with a minimal investment to validate the direction? The practice guides immediate implementation. Choose one pending financial decision that you've been postponing. Apply the 24-hour rule. Set your timer, gather key data, run a micro-test if needed, then commit to a clear yes or no. Document both your decision process and the resulting effects. Chapter 20. Rewriting Your Future with Wealth Consciousness. Horace Bennett sat in his cramped apartment, surrounded by post-it notes describing a life he hadn't yet lived. 5 years into the future, each yellow square detailed elements of his imagined reality. The consulting firm he'd build, the office overlooking the bay, the team he'd mentor. Most would have called it daydreaming, but Horace treated these visions as inevitabilities requiring only time and aligned action. The transformation began when he stopped treating his future as a wish and started treating it as a script already written. He dressed for meetings that weren't yet scheduled, practiced conversations with clients he hadn't met, and arranged his workspace as if success had already arrived. Within months, opportunities began aligning with his scripted reality. The core teachings reveal how timeline influence operates through 3 key mechanisms: detailed scripting, daily rehearsal, and environmental preparation. When we script a future with precise detail, down to the conversations we'll have and the decisions we'll make, our nervous system begins responding as if that reality exists now. This creates a bridge between present and future states. Viola Grant demonstrated this principle when she decided to pivot from corporate accounting to creative entrepreneurship. She wrote out detailed scenes of her future life: client meetings in her home studio, the feeling of sending invoices for creative work, even the morning routine that would support her new career. Instead of treating these as mere visualizations, she began living them immediately, converting her spare room into a workspace, practicing client conversations with friends, and restructuring her day to match her future schedule. The most powerful moment, Viola recalled, was when I realized I didn't need permission to start living as if my desired future was already unfolding. Within 3 months, I had my first 2 clients. Within 6, I had enough work to make the transition. The interpretation provides a precise template for future scripting. The practice guides you through a 2-week immersion. Write a 1-page wealth script describing your life 5 years from now. Include income sources, daily patterns, and key relationships. Read it aloud each night before sleep, allowing yourself to fully feel the reality of that future. Note any opportunities or shifts that align with your script during these 2 weeks. Part 3. Mastery, Transformation, and Unfiltered Prosperity. Chapter 21. Becoming the Embodiment of Prosperity. Jasper Cole stood at his desk, shoulders back, spine straight, emanating the quiet confidence he'd cultivated over months of practice. Where he once hunched over spreadsheets in his small accounting practice, he now moved with deliberate presence, choosing words that reflected abundance rather than scarcity. "I'm investing in growth," replaced "I can't afford it." "I choose to," superseded "I have to." This shift wasn't mere posturing. It was the conscious embodiment of wealth consciousness that transformed his practice from struggling to thriving. Each morning, Jasper dressed as if meeting his most important client. He replaced his worn briefcase with a quality leather portfolio, not as a superficial change, but as a physical reminder of his commitment to excellence. The core teachings reveal that embodiment operates through 3 channels: physical posture, linguistic precision, and decisive action. When these align, they create an energetic coherence that attracts matching opportunities. The teachings emphasize that maintaining this alignment under pressure, when bills mount or clients delay, distinguishes those who create lasting wealth from those who experience temporary success. Lula Price demonstrated this principle in building her executive coaching practice. She began by adopting the posture and presence of a highly sought-after advisor long before she had the client list to match. She replaced casual clothes with tailored suits, practiced power poses before meetings, and spoke with the measured authority of someone accustomed to commanding premium rates. I noticed that as I held myself differently, people responded differently, Lula shared. When I maintained this presence during difficult moments, like when a potential client questioned my fees, something remarkable happened. They often shifted to match my certainty rather than the other way around. Over 18 months, Lula's practice evolved from one-on-one coaching to facilitating high-level corporate retreats. Her embodied wealth consciousness attracted increasingly substantial opportunities, culminating in a 7-figure consulting contract that established her as an industry leader. The interpretation crystallizes 3 key elements for wealth embodiment: physical alignment, adopt wealth-congruent postures and movements; linguistic precision, use language that reflects abundance and possibility; decisive action, make choices that align with your desired financial reality. The practice guides you through a 3-day embodiment sprint. Day 1, maintain wealth-aligned posture for 3 key periods of your day. Day 2, use abundance language in every business conversation. Day 3, make one bold wealth-congruent decision and follow through immediately. Record your experiences and any shifts in how others respond to your presence. Chapter 22. The Realm of Instant Manifestation. Otis Reed sat in his garden workspace holding a single intention in mind: to attract 3 new web design clients within the month. Unlike his previous pattern of anxious hoping, he now understood the delicate balance between clear asking and complete release. "I used to grip every desire so tightly," Otis explained, "that I actually pushed away what I wanted." His breakthrough came when he learned to state his request with precision, then immediately release it into what he called the field of possibility. Within 3 days of practicing this new approach, 2 ideal clients reached out through unexpected channels. By week's end, he had signed all 3 contracts he'd envisioned. The key wasn't in the asking alone, it was in maintaining a state of energetic neutrality after making the request. The core teachings reveal that immediate manifestation requires 3 aligned internal conditions: crystal clear intention, complete non-attachment to outcomes, and energetic neutrality. This creates a frictionless channel for desires to materialize. The teachings emphasize that this isn't about passive waiting, but active readiness combined with deep trust. Myrtle Lane discovered this truth while building her wellness consulting business. One evening, she performed a simple ritual: writing down her desire for a high-level corporate client, burning the paper, and completely releasing the outcome. The next morning, she received an unexpected email from a Fortune 500 company seeking her services. "The difference was in how I felt after making the request," Myrtle shared. "Instead of obsessing over when or how it would happen, I simply returned to my work with a quiet certainty that what I asked for was already in motion." The interpretation provides a framework for this practice. First, state your desire with absolute clarity, including specific details and timeline. Next, consciously release all attachment to how it manifests, maintaining a state of calm expectancy. Finally, occupy yourself with present moment activities while remaining open to unexpected opportunities. The practice introduces a 5-minute convergence ritual. Sit in a quiet space, write your clear intention on paper, speak it aloud once, then burn or tear the paper while saying, "I release this to the field of possibility." Spend the remaining minutes in silent readiness, focusing only on your breath and the feeling of peaceful expectancy. Perform this ritual nightly for 1 week, noting any synchronicities or manifestations that occur. Chapter 23. The Unfiltered Truth About Risk-Reward and Destiny. Gideon Marsh stood at the crossroads of a decision that would reshape his future. After running a successful local hardware store for 15 years, he felt an inexplicable pull toward converting his business into a sustainable building materials company. The numbers looked promising, but the shift would require significant investment and restructuring. "I'd made impulsive moves before," Gideon recalled, "and each time I paid dearly for rushing without proper alignment. This time was different. Instead of acting on pure excitement, he spent 3 months testing the resonance of his idea through small experiments. He introduced eco-friendly products in one store section, gauged customer response, and built relationships with sustainable suppliers. The core teachings reveal that true destiny-aligned risks carry a distinct energetic signature. Unlike the anxious flutter of impulsive gambles, aligned moves produce a steady, grounded certainty. The teachings outline 3 essential components: resonance testing, safety net design, and calibrated action steps. Resonance testing involves quiet contemplation, small-scale trials, and careful observation of how the potential move feels in your body. Safety net design requires creating multiple backup scenarios and support structures before taking the leap. Calibrated action means breaking down large risks into smaller, testable steps. Clara Benton's story illuminates these principles in action. As a boutique owner, she sensed the right moment to expand into online retail. Instead of rushing to launch, she first tested her concept through pop-up events and small batch releases. She designed a financial buffer and maintained her physical store while building her digital presence. The difference between a reckless gamble and an aligned risk, Clara explained, is that aligned risks feel like stepping into who you're meant to become, not escaping who you are. When the pandemic hit, Clara's prepared digital infrastructure allowed her business to thrive while others struggled to adapt. Her careful preparation had positioned her perfectly for an unexpected market shift. The interpretation provides a practical risk assessment framework. First, evaluate the deep resonance of the opportunity. Does it align with your core values and natural strengths? Second, examine the timing. Are external conditions supportive? Third, assess your preparation. Have you built adequate safety nets and support systems? The practice offers a concrete step toward embracing aligned risk. Identify one significant move that consistently calls to you. Create a small symbolic action that tests this direction without major commitment. For example, if you're considering a career pivot, spend 1 hour this week learning a relevant skill. Record how this micro-step feels in your body and what doors it might open. Chapter 24. Wealth as a Spiritual Responsibility. Calvin Reed sat in his office, surrounded by the evidence of his success. Not in the ostentatious trappings of wealth, but in the stack of thank-you letters from local students whose educations he had quietly funded. 5 years earlier, he had been focused solely on accumulating wealth through his software company. Everything changed when he realized that money flowing through him, rather than to him, created an amplified field of prosperity. The moment I started viewing wealth as a tool for impact rather than a measure of success, everything shifted, Calvin explained. Our company's growth accelerated precisely when we began allocating profits to education initiatives. The core teachings reveal that true wealth operates on a principle of multiplication through meaningful distribution. When financial success aligns with purpose, it creates a resonant field that attracts more resources while expanding impact. This isn't mere philanthropy. It's a fundamental law of energy and attention. Etta Bowman discovered this truth when she transformed her struggling cafe into a community hub. She introduced a pay-it-forward meal program, allowing customers to pre-purchase meals for those in need. The program not only fed hungry neighbors but also attracted a loyal customer base and media attention that tripled her revenue. People assume you have to choose between profit and purpose, Etta shared. But when you align them properly, they fuel each other. Our giving program brought in more business than any marketing campaign ever could. The key lies in understanding that stewardship isn't about depleting resources. It's about creating sustainable cycles of giving and receiving. The interpretation provides 3 essential structures for effective stewardship. First, establish a regular giving rhythm that matches your cash flow. Second, choose initiatives that align with your core skills and values. Third, create simple tracking systems to measure both impact and return flow. The practice invites you to design a small-scale stewardship experiment. Select one area where you can direct resources, time, money, or expertise toward a specific need in your community. Set clear parameters for what you'll give and for how long. Then document both the impact on others and any shifts in your own prosperity over the next 30 days. This isn't about massive donations. Even modest, consistent actions can demonstrate the power of aligned giving. Through this practice, you begin to embody the truth that wealth isn't meant to pool, but to flow. When directed with purpose and wisdom, it creates expanding ripples of abundance that enrich both giver and receiver. Chapter 25. Handling Wealth with Power and Purity. Solomon Bates sat in his newly inherited office, staring at the statement that showed 8 figures in his account. The weight of responsibility felt paralyzing. His uncle's legacy came with no instruction manual, just memories of both his father's penny-pinching fears and his cousin's reckless spending. Neither extreme offered a useful model. After months of analysis paralysis, Solomon discovered that wealth required ritual and structure to remain clean and purposeful. He established simple protocols. Every incoming dollar had its place, every expenditure aligned with values, and each milestone deserved acknowledgement without excess. Money amplifies what's already there, Solomon explained. Without clear rules, it magnifies our shadows, whether that's fear or indulgence. Structure creates freedom. The core teachings reveal that financial hygiene operates on 3 levels: practical, emotional, and energetic. Clear rules for handling money create a container that prevents both hoarding and waste. Regular emotional check-ins prevent the accumulation of guilt or attachment. Simple celebration rituals maintain gratitude without falling into excess. Alma Finch demonstrated these principles when she inherited her mother's antique shop. She instituted 3 non-negotiable practices. Each morning began with reviewing numbers without judgment. All decisions above a certain threshold required 24-hour consideration, and each quarter's profits were consciously divided between reinvestment, reserves, and celebration. The rules became my anchor, Alma shared. When emotions ran high or opportunities seemed urgent, I had a framework to fall back on. It kept money clean and decisions clear. The interpretation provides a 3-rule framework for handling wealth. First, establish a receiving ritual, a specific way to acknowledge and allocate incoming money. Second, create clear spending parameters that align with both practical needs and core values. Third, design simple celebration practices that honor milestones without creating attachment. The practice asks you to implement 3 handling rules for 2 weeks, 1 for receiving money, even small amounts, 1 for allocation decisions, and 1 for celebrating wins. Document how these structures affect both your practical choices and emotional relationship with wealth. Through this discipline, money becomes neither master nor servant, but a clean instrument for purpose and growth. Chapter 26. Walking through the world as a creator, not a seeker. Orson Hale hunched over his desk, scrounging through discount websites and coupon codes, trying to cobble together resources for his design consultancy. Despite his talent, he operated from a place of scarcity, always reacting to circumstances rather than creating them. The turning point came when he realized he was playing the wrong role. "I was behaving like a beggar in my own kingdom," he later reflected. Instead of chasing bargains, he began arranging circumstances with intention. He designed a workspace that reflected professionalism, established clear collaboration protocols, and started initiating conversations rather than waiting for them. The core teachings reveal that true wealth consciousness requires stepping into creative sovereignty. This means moving beyond the passive role of hoping and waiting into active authorship of your circumstances. 3 key elements drive this shift: declaring clear outcomes rather than vague wishes, initiating ecosystems of value rather than isolated transactions, and maintaining creative accountability rather than external validation. Beulah Grant exemplified this principle when she transformed her small bakery into a thriving cooperative. Instead of competing with other local food businesses, she initiated a collective that shared resources and customers. "I stopped asking what was available and started declaring what was possible," she explained. Within months, the cooperative attracted investors, expanded its reach, and created sustainable income for dozens of families. The interpretation provides a creator checklist for sovereign action. First, declare your outcomes with precision, not what you hope might happen, but what you are authoring into existence. Second, identify 3 potential ecosystem partners who could amplify your impact. Third, establish personal metrics for creative accountability that don't depend on external validation. The practice guides you through a creator day. Choose 3 micro-actions that demonstrate sovereignty rather than scarcity. This might mean rearranging your workspace to reflect success, initiating a valuable connection rather than waiting for an introduction, or establishing a new standard in how you present your work. Document the immediate shifts in energy and response. This shift from scrounger to sovereign creator fundamentally alters how opportunities and resources respond to your presence. The field recognizes and responds to those who move with creative authority. Chapter 27, Building Real-World Wealth from Spiritual Truths. Everett Drake sat in his meditation room, surrounded by crystals and inspiration boards, wondering why his healing practice struggled to attract consistent clients. His work was transformative, but his business foundation was built on hope rather than structure. "I thought being spiritually aligned was enough," he confided, "but I learned that the universe responds to clear containers." His breakthrough came when he stopped seeing structure as the enemy of spirit and began treating his business architecture as a sacred vessel for his gifts. The core teachings reveal that sustainable wealth requires bridging the gap between energetic mastery and practical mechanics. This means developing clear offers that honor both value and values, creating contracts that protect all parties, and establishing pricing that reflects true energetic exchange. Everett began by mapping his services into distinct tiers, each with clear deliverables and boundaries. He created welcome packets that honored both the spiritual journey and practical expectations. Most importantly, he stopped apologizing for charging professional rates for professional work. Nellie Rhodes demonstrated this principle perfectly when she transformed her intuitive consulting practice. Instead of vague promises of transformation, she developed structured programs with clear milestones and measurable outcomes. "I realized that structure doesn't diminish the magic, it amplifies it," she explained. Within 3 months of implementing her new system, she secured contracts with corporate clients who previously dismissed her work as too ethereal. Her success came from creating what the core teachings call containers of trust. professional frameworks that make spiritual work accessible and reliable for clients who need both results and resonance. The interpretation provides a template for elevating any service into a premium offer. First, identify the core transformation you provide. Second, map the journey into clear stages with tangible markers of progress. Third, add specific support structures that ensure client success. Fourth, price according to the true value of transformation, not just time spent. The practice guides you through redesigning one offering using alignment principles. Select a current service and rebuild it from the ground up, integrating both spiritual integrity and business clarity. Test this new structure with at least one potential client in the next week, noting both the energetic shift and practical response. Chapter 28. Shattering Your Upper Limits. Phineas Clark stared at his accounting software in disbelief. For the third year running, his consulting income hovered within the same $5,000 range. Despite new clients and expanded services, something invisible kept pulling him back to his familiar financial territory. It was like hitting an invisible ceiling, Phineas explained. Every time I'd push past it, unexpected expenses or canceled contracts would drag me right back to my comfort zone. The core teachings reveal that these upper limits aren't arbitrary. They're precise reflections of our internal setting for normal. When reality exceeds this setting, unconscious self-sabotage kicks in to restore the familiar equilibrium. Phineas began working with a systematic expansion approach. Instead of forcing dramatic leaps, he implemented small, consistent stretches. He raised his rates by 10% every quarter rather than doubling them overnight. He upgraded his office space gradually rather than jumping to premium real estate. Each step was small enough to integrate but significant enough to challenge his status quo. Dora Milner's journey illustrated this principle perfectly. As a midlife career consultant, she noticed her income stuck at a plateau despite growing demand. Rather than forcing a breakthrough, she designed a careful expansion sequence. She began by raising her minimum client investment by small increments each month. She upgraded her professional wardrobe one piece at a time. She gradually shifted her client base toward more senior executives. The key was making each change small enough to feel manageable, but consistent enough to create momentum, Dora shared. Within 8 months, her income had increased by 40% without triggering the usual setbacks or self-sabotage. The interpretation provides a methodical approach to raising your wealth ceiling. First, identify your current comfort zone in specific numbers. Second, map small, consecutive increases that stretch but don't snap your capacity. Third, build support systems, mentors, accountability partners, professional services that normalize your new level. The practice outlines a 30-day expansion plan. Each day, make one choice that stretches your current normal. This might mean speaking a slightly higher number, upgrading one small purchase, or taking one bold business action. Schedule weekly check-ins with a support person to maintain momentum and process any resistance that arises. Document both the external changes and internal adjustments as you systematically raise your wealth thermostat. Chapter 29. Living in the Frequency of Infinite Prosperity. Ambrose Cain's wealth didn't come from aggressive action or dramatic wins. Instead, his success flowed from a carefully cultivated daily ecosystem that made prosperity feel natural and inevitable. I realized wealth isn't about isolated moments of brilliance, Ambrose explained from his sunlit home office. It's about creating an environment where abundance becomes your default setting. Each morning, Ambrose would gather with his mastermind circle, 3 other entrepreneurs committed to expanding their vision of what's possible. They'd share wins, challenge limitations, and hold space for audacious goals. His carefully curated information diet excluded scarcity news and included daily doses of expansion-oriented content. A simple morning ritual of gratitude and intention setting anchored his prosperity mindset before the day began. The core teachings reveal that sustainable wealth requires more than individual action. It demands a consciously maintained field of abundance. This includes selective exposure to people, ideas, and environments that normalize unlimited thinking. Regular rituals and practices serve as energetic maintenance, preventing drift back into scarcity patterns. Florence Hayes demonstrated this principle when she transformed her struggling consulting practice. Instead of working harder, she focused on building a prosperity-oriented ecosystem. She started a monthly abundance circle where 6 professionals shared opportunities and celebrated wins. She redesigned her office with artifacts and images that reminded her of unlimited potential. Her morning success ritual became non-negotiable. Within 3 months, my entire relationship with money had shifted, Florence shared. Opportunities began flowing naturally because I'd created an environment where they felt normal rather than exceptional. The interpretation provides a framework for field maintenance. First, consciously select your prosperity influences, the people, information, and environments that shape your wealth consciousness. Second, establish regular rituals that reinforce unlimited thinking. Third, create accountability structures that prevent unconscious reversion to scarcity patterns. The practice guides you through a 30-day field curation. Choose 3 people who embody the prosperity mindset you wish to develop. Select 3 daily inputs, books, podcasts, newsletters that normalize unlimited thinking. Design one simple ritual to perform each morning that anchors your abundance orientation. Maintain this ecosystem for 30 days and document how it shifts your default relationship with wealth. Chapter 30. The Raw Wealth Identity. Randolph "Randy" Moore stood before his newly opened wellness center, a testament to his complete metamorphosis. 5 years ago, he had been a part-time fitness instructor, scraping by with minimal clients. Today, he embodied what he called prosperity in motion, not just in his thriving business, but in his entire way of being. The shift wasn't about the money, Randy explained, adjusting his posture with natural confidence. It was about finally allowing myself to be a living example of abundance. Every choice, every interaction now flows from that truth. The core teachings crystallize here into their final form. Sustainable prosperity requires a complete identity integration. This means establishing daily practices that maintain your wealth consciousness, creating mentorship relationships that both support and challenge you, and developing legacy projects that extend your impact beyond personal gain. Randy's morning ritual became sacred, 20 minutes of prosperity meditation, followed by reviewing his wealth covenant and making one bold request before noon. He surrounded himself with a carefully chosen council of 3 mentors and began teaching wealth consciousness to select students, understanding that teaching deepens mastery. Winona Pierce's journey illuminates this final stage of transformation. After stabilizing her own prosperity practices, she felt called to share these principles with struggling artists in her community. She developed a simple teaching framework: identity work, aligned action, and field maintenance, and began mentoring 3 painters. Teaching forced me to distill everything I'd learned, Winona reflected. But more importantly, it showed me that true mastery means being able to transfer these principles to others. Within 6 months, all 3 of her mentees had doubled their income while maintaining their artistic integrity. More significantly, they began teaching others, creating a ripple effect of prosperity consciousness throughout their creative community. The interpretation reveals 3 essential components for lasting transformation. First, establish non-negotiable daily practices that maintain your prosperity frequency. Second, create mentorship circles that both support your growth and provide opportunities to teach others. Third, design legacy projects that extend these principles beyond your personal sphere. The practice guides you through two final commitments. Design a personal inauguration ritual that marks your formal embodiment of prosperity consciousness. This might include writing a formal declaration, performing a symbolic act, or making a public commitment. Then identify one person you will mentor in these principles over the next 90 days, sharing the fundamental practices that have transformed your own relationship with wealth. Conclusion. The ancient wisdom keepers understood that true mastery requires both elevated consciousness and grounded practice. This final transmission serves as your perpetual compass, distilling the essential daily, weekly, and monthly rhythms that will sustain your prosperity consciousness. 3 daily anchors form your foundation. Each morning begins with the Identity Hour, a sacred space where you embody your wealth consciousness through meditation, movement, and declaring your daily intention. At midday comes the Clarity Break, 5 minutes of alignment where you check your energy, reset any scattered frequencies, and make one bold request. The day closes with the Infrastructure Review, examining your actions, celebrating aligned choices, and preparing tomorrow's environment for success. The weekly checks maintain your field integrity. Every Sunday evening, perform the frequency audit. Review the week's dominant vibrations and consciously elevate any areas of constriction. Wednesdays bring the Wealth Circle check-in, connecting with your Prosperity Council to share wins, address challenges, and reinforce collective abundance. Saturday mornings host the Legacy Hour, working on your teaching and mentorship commitments, ensuring the wisdom flows forward. The monthly stewardship ritual, performed under the new moon, integrates all aspects of your wealth consciousness. In solitude, review your covenant, assess your impact, and design the next month's evolution. This is when you calibrate your giving, adjust your receiving channels, and recommit to your role as a prosperity steward. These practices form an unbroken circuit, maintaining the frequency you've cultivated through this initiation. They are not rigid commands, but rather living guidelines that grow with your consciousness. As your prosperity deepens, they will naturally evolve while keeping their essential form. Your wealth covenant, signed in full awareness, becomes your compass. It holds not just your commitments, but the very essence of your transformed identity. Keep it close, review it often, and let it remind you of the truth you now embody, that prosperity flows naturally through those who align with its principles. The annual consecration ritual, performed on the anniversary of your initiation, serves as both celebration and renewal. It is a time to honor your growth, assess your stewardship, and elevate your frequency for the coming year. This ritual ensures your prosperity consciousness continues to expand, never stagnating but always reaching for new expressions of abundance. Through these practices, the teachings remain alive, not as mere concepts, but as embodied wisdom. They form the infrastructure that supports your ongoing ascension, ensuring that your prosperity consciousness continues to deepen and expand, touching more lives through your example and stewardship.
If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.